As I went about deciding what I'd like to do as far as furnishing my little home, it never occurred to me that I would be making furniture. I didn't anticipate that a few little tools and some boxes of bits and pieces would become part of my life for the next few months. But they did, and in the process, I made my little house my home, my own home, made by me. That's my story today. Hi there, I'm Judith, and I started this channel because I own a little house and I love to talk about it. And how I put together the furnishings for it, that was a big adventure, and oh, so creative and fun. In my last video, I told a story about the months after I moved into this little house. I had no furniture, none. But no matter, I wanted to just sit in my camp chair and later on a recliner that a very nice lady gave to me and watch the sunlight on my beautiful new floors. I evidently wasn't in any hurry, but it did seem kind of obvious to me that maybe I'd better get around to furnishing this little house. And I had some decisions to make. Well, the decisions weren't coming at great speed, and I was a bit stressed out about not having a vision for the inside of this little house. And one day I decided, oh, bag it. I'm going to take a field trip. I've never been to Ikea, I'm going to Ikea. I had no real intentions except to loosen my mind and maybe open my eyes a little bit. I knew nothing about Ikea. I hadn't looked at their catalog. I had no idea what they were about except it was some company from Sweden. And there was a whole lot of blue and yellow going on. What happened next? Oh, I have a lot of stories about that, and you might want to subscribe and hit the notifications button so you can get the follow-up. And I always appreciate a like. It keeps me going on some of the darker days. At any rate, I went off to Ikea, and I spent hours in the showrooms. After all of that, I got pretty tired, so I kind of zoomed to the cash register and out the door after I paid for my few little things, if I had anything. I can't recall that day. I did notice on the way out that there seemed to be a big warehouse, but I really didn't take it in. I thought it was just a typical warehouse. I was so wrong. At any rate, I went home with the idea that I'd get a few things from Ikea. And the furniture, I'd probably do that from a thrift store and simply paint it up. In fact, I had started working on a couple of pieces. And I'm the kind of person that will start into a project like that and get really bored. And then it might take days. But I will tell you, the first couple of pieces I painted up, I still have those, by the way. I made those in bright colors. That was a little bit different from my past history, where I'd been more a brown furniture and oriental rugs kind of a gal. At least I was headed into a different paradigm. Something compelled me to look at Ikea further. I think I was fascinated by how they could put disparate things together and make it all kind of work. And they built furniture in interesting shapes, and the pieces were very compatible with being a senior. They'd be easy to move around this small place and reconfigure depending on guests. And they were creative with ideas about storage. Now, I don't need a whole lot. I don't have a lot of things, but I did need some. And they looked very versatile. I must have taken about 8 trips that spring, and I took at least half of them before COVID started. And once COVID started, I was in kind of a panic to get more things. At any rate, I soon discovered the deal about the warehouse. I had no idea that it was customers that would go in the warehouse and pull things down. This was one of the most overwhelming places I've ever been in. Boxes stacked to the ceiling, aisle after aisle of stuff. And then I realized there was kind of a strategy as you'd go about it. You'd find out what aisle your item was in, and then you'd take it off the shelf. Actually, in my case, you'd kind of struggle to take it off the shelf. Oh well. And then with my first few items, I hadn't really learned the lesson that I was going to be building things. I think I must have come home with some of the few pieces where not a lot of building was going on. I do remember a couple of my first items were lamps. And then it had been winter and into spring, and I needed stuff like doormats, trays for mucky boots, that kind of thing. Basic household goods. At any rate, I began to lug piece by piece home. And I soon found out I loved putting the pieces together. And here's what I loved about it. I have never seen myself as a handy person. And I'm not dexterous. I can't do things very well with my fingers. Yeah, don't ask me to play a musical instrument. I was musical, but I couldn't do this with any kind of ease. But I loved putting together these pieces. I'd open the boxes and spread them out on the floor. Put all the little pieces in bowls so I wouldn't lose them into the rug or rolling around on the wood floors. And I'd have at it. I felt so competent. It was as though nothing could go wrong. The instructions were so explicit and not verbal, they were pictures and easy to follow. And so, little by little, I made piece after piece. A couple of chairs, storage cubbies like the one behind me, a table. Gradually, I collected things. But I will tell you, in this little house, not a lot of furniture is required. Little by little, I gathered pieces. Now, some didn't work out, but the nice thing about Ikea was I could return them. Perhaps they didn't work out because the color didn't suit the little house, or the style didn't work, or the boxes I bought didn't quite fit nicely in the cubbies. That's kind of it for my house. From the comments in my videos, I noticed some viewers expect that I have a whole bunch of stuff here. That makes me chuckle. In a 700 square foot house, there's not room for a whole lot. There's no room for a cafe table with 2 little chairs. And my living space here, you've seen it, Brekkie and me, and 2 chairs. That's it. But I had so much fun making this furniture, and it came together magically before my eyes. Pieces that I'd never thought about getting, materials that I never thought about using. And there I was with the tools, scrambling around on the floor. I wish I had video of that. I wish I had photos. But that was before the days I thought in video or photos. I just didn't think that way. So yeah, I'm sorry to say, I don't have any visual record of those days, but I do have in my heart what I went through. And every day, as I look at the stuff around me, it gives me so much pleasure. And I have a feeling of ownership in having built everything, put it together. I was in my 60s at that point. I'm not quite as limber as I was. I can't move as easily, and my fingers are stiffer now. But could I still pull that off? I'm trying to be encouraging here. Yes, I could. Over the winter, I had to replace a couple of cabinets. My original ones always looked a mess, and the doors opened outwards. That takes up a lot of real estate in a small house. I never thought of that before. So I had to replace them. Now those were complicated, fiddly. But did I manage in the end? Yes. I didn't have quite the pleasure I used to have, but I'm so proud of myself for getting through that project. It took me a couple of weeks because it was very complex, but I got it done. As acknowledgement for my old age, I paid to have them delivered to the room where I was going to be building them. They were heavy pieces, and I'm so glad I did. I could have hurt myself moving them around, and I didn't have to move them anywhere. I just had to construct. Oh gosh, it was complicated, but the instructions were fabulous. There was no confusion, no ability to put the wrong pin in any place. Just as always, crystal clear. And so I scrambled around on the floor, doing a little bit at a time, and I got them done. I'm still putting stuff in them, so I can't show you yet. And the other thing that I found, I continue to feel overwhelmed when I go into IKEA's warehouse. It's a lot. So early on, I found out that I could order the night before and then pick up the pieces in the customer service area. So I didn't really have to deal with the warehouse, unless I bought something on a whim. There was no hauling things into a cart, lifting heavy items, and that was so helpful to me as the seasons went by. And if I put those boxes in my car and they were too heavy to get from my car into the house, I'd simply open the box in the car take the pieces out one by one, no sweat, and off I'd get to work. Oh yeah, I had so much fun. And I'm so proud, and I never got sick of my choices. But I'll bet you're wondering, what did you choose? No worries. In the next week or two, I'll do a video on exactly that. But as I mentioned before, subscribe so you can see when it pops up, because it will soon enough. And that's how I took ownership of this house. I made things for me. Screws, dowels, planks, unfamiliar materials, some smooth, some rough, unusual shapes. I loved all of them. Have you ever been to Ikea yourself, pulled down some of those flat boxes, lugged them home, got the little tools out and the itty-bitty pieces, and put something together? How did you feel about that? Did you find it a chore, or did you really enjoy yourself? Did you get a sense of accomplishment out of that, like I did? Some contentment, some feeling good about yourself? I hope so. Tell us in the comments. As a little bit of a coda here, IKEA's policy is not to allow videos in their stores. Photos, yes, provided you don't take pictures of their employees, but no video. Another policy, and this really disappoints me, in the US, meetings aren't allowed at IKEA. I was half hoping my viewers and I could have a meetup and just enjoy ourselves for a few hours. Explore the showrooms, check out the little items, and have a nice meal. That isn't to be, but a gal can wish. That's it for me for now, but we'll talk soon, all right? See you then.